Are you deaf or just stupid, Alex? Sign the damn papers, Sarah screamed, slamming her manicured hands onto the heavy oak dining table so hard her coffee cup rattled. The bank is going to take everything. I took a slow sip of my black coffee. I didn't blink. I didn't flinch. Sign it, Alex, my mother Olivia pleaded. But it wasn't a real plea. It was that fake, trembling voice she used when she wanted to play the victim. The same voice she used to manipulate cash out of relatives for decades. We have no other choice. The business is gone. If you don't declare bankruptcy tonight, we all go to prison. No, Olivia, I said, setting my mug down. The clink of the ceramic echoed in the dead silent room. If I don't sign, I go bankrupt. If I do sign, you get away with stealing $2 million. Sarah's face went completely white. Her mouth hung open. Olivia stopped pretending to cry instantly, the tears drying up like somebody hit a switch. My father, Marcus, who had been standing by the window trying to look intimidating with his arms crossed, suddenly turned around. His face flushed dark red. Watch your mouth. You owe this family everything. We gave you life. You gave me a forged loan restructuring agreement, I interrupted, my voice dead calm. I didn't raise my tone. I didn't need to. I leaned forward and tossed a heavy black leather folder onto the center of the table. It landed with a loud thud. And you gave me 8 months to figure out exactly how you did it. Before I tell you what was inside that folder and how I systematically dismantled my own family piece by piece, let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at the people who share your blood and realized they view you as nothing more than a bank account? Tell me in the comments what time it is for you right now, because I want to know how far this warning travels. I am not a victim. I am a senior corporate auditor. I spend my days tracking missing funds, exposing embezzlement, and tearing apart shell companies for massive corporate clients. My family knew what I did for a living. They just assumed I would never turn my crosshairs on them. That was their first fatal mistake. 3 years ago, they invited me to a family dinner with a grand proposal. Marcus and Olivia wanted to open an upscale commercial property, a massive high-end steakhouse and lounge downtown. Sarah was going to be the general manager. They had the operational experience from running a small diner years ago, but their credit was absolute garbage. Marcus had a long history of making terrible investments, and Olivia spent money faster than it could be printed. They needed a silent guarantor for the commercial lease and the initial business line of credit. I said yes. Why? Because I am a man of my word, and back then, I still believed family meant loyalty. But I set strict, unbreakable rules. I demanded quarterly financial reports. I demanded full transparency on every vendor contract. For the first 2 years, they actually gave it to me. The business looked okay on paper, not great, but surviving. Then, 8 months ago, everything changed. I was in my office applying for a new mortgage to buy an investment property. My broker called me, sounding absolutely panicked. Alex, your credit is completely wrecked. You have a massive commercial default on your record. I told him that was impossible. I check my credit every single month. I have zero debt. Not this one, he said, his voice tight. It's a secondary commercial line of credit, $2 million. It's 90 days past due. The lender is preparing to seize assets. I hung up the phone and felt a cold knot form in my stomach. I didn't call my parents. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. A real man doesn't react with his emotions when his life is on the line. He reacts with strategy. I locked my office door, opened my laptop, and pulled the county records. I requested the original loan documents directly from the commercial lender. When the encrypted files arrived in my inbox, I saw it. A newly structured loan agreement. It released Marcus and Olivia from all personal liability, removed Sarah as a secondary guarantor, and shifted 100% of the debt squarely onto my shoulders. And right there, on the final page, was my signature. Except I never signed it. It was a good forgery. Good enough to pass a lazy bank clerk who just wanted to close the file on a Friday afternoon. But I know how I write my own name. The slant was wrong. The pressure on the loops was too heavy. Sarah had always been good at copying handwriting when we were younger to get out of school detentions. I didn't confront them. If you want to win a war against liars, you don't warn them you are fighting. You gather ammunition until they can't breathe. For 8 months, I smiled at Sunday dinners. I ate Olivia's dry roast beef. I listened to Marcus complain about the economy ruining small businesses. I watched Sarah show up in a brand new luxury SUV, claiming she got a great lease deal because she was such a good negotiator. And every single night, I went back to my home office, fired up my investigative software, and tore their financial lives apart. I hired a private forensic investigator to trace the wires. I tracked every single dollar of that $2 million. They didn't put a dime of it into the steakhouse. They stripped the company bare. $500,000 went straight into a consulting shell company registered in Sarah's name. $300,000 went to clear Marcus's private sports gambling debts. The rest was parked in an offshore holding account in the Caribbean that Olivia controlled. Their plan was brutally simple. Drain the cash, let the restaurant fail, force me into bankruptcy because my forged signature made me the sole guarantor, and walk away rich while I lost my career, my licenses, and my future. But they didn't know who they were dealing with. The primary bank that held the debt was panicking. They wanted to offload the bad loan before the end of the fiscal year. So, I set up a blind trust. I used my own liquid assets, leveraged my own consulting firm, and bought my family's defaulted debt from the bank for 40 cents on the dollar. I owned the paper. I was their creditor now. Which brings us back to the dinner table. Marcus stared at the black folder like it was a live grenade. "What is this nonsense, Alex? What are you talking about?" "Open it," I said, leaning back in my chair. Sarah lunged for the folder, her eyes wild, but I slammed my hand down on the leather cover. "Not you, Sarah. You've signed enough things for me already. Marcus, open it." Marcus swallowed hard. He reached out with shaking hands and opened the folder. The first page was a blown-up copy of the forged signature next to my real signature, officially stamped and verified by a court-certified forensic document examiner. The second page was the wire transfer receipt, showing exactly $500,000 moving from the restaurant's operating account to Sarah's shell corporation. Marcus lost all his color. He looked like he was going to pass out right into his mashed potatoes. "Alex, we can explain this. The business was struggling. We had to secure the funds to protect the family assets from going under." "Protect the family assets?" I laughed. It wasn't a nice laugh. It was the kind of laugh that makes people step back. "You mean Sarah's new luxury condo in Miami, paid in cash 3 months ago?" Sarah gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. "How do you know about that?" "I know everything, Sarah," I said, my voice dropping. "I know about your offshore accounts. I know about Marcus's bookie. I know exactly how much you stole. $2 million. Olivia started sobbing. Loud, ugly, theatrical tears. She reached across the table, trying to grab my hand, but I pulled it back. "Alex, please. You're our son. We were going to pay it back, I swear. But the market shifted, and we got scared. You have so much money. You're so successful. We thought you could absorb the loss if things went wrong. We didn't want to lose everything. You thought I could absorb a federal fraud charge." I stared dead into her eyes until she looked away. "You thought I would just take a bankruptcy, ruin my entire corporate auditing career, and let you live in a luxury condo with my stolen money? We are your family," Marcus yelled, trying to regain his dominant father routine. He slammed his fist on the table, making the silverware jump. "You will not speak to your mother that way. We made a business decision. It went bad. Now you need to sign these bankruptcy papers tonight and take the hit. You owe us for raising you." I didn't yell. I never yell. I just reached into the folder, pulled out the final piece of paper, and slid it across the smooth wood of the table. "I don't owe you anything," I said, "but you owe me $2 million, plus legal penalties and interest." Marcus frowned, picking up the heavy stock paper. "What is this? Notice of assignment? What does this mean?" "It means the bank got tired of chasing a defaulted loan," I explained slowly, making sure every single syllable hit them like a hammer. "They sold the debt to a private equity group to cut their losses. That private equity group is a holding company fully owned by me. I am the bank now, and I am calling in the loan. Tonight." The silence in the room was absolute. You could hear the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Sarah shook her head rapidly, her carefully styled hair flying everywhere. No, that's illegal. You can't do that. You can't just buy our debt." "It's completely legal, Sarah. It's standard corporate asset recovery. Do you know what isn't legal?" I leaned forward. "Wire fraud, bank fraud, identity theft, forgery." I ticked them off on my fingers. "That is federal prison time. For all 3 of you." Marcus stood up abruptly, his heavy wooden chair falling backward with a loud crash. His face was purple with rage. The mask was completely off. "You arrogant little punk. I'll beat the respect into you." He lunged at me across the table, swinging his arm. I didn't flinch. I stood up, caught his wrist in midair, and twisted it sharply down and back. He let out a loud yelp of pain, his knees buckling under the pressure. I shoved him hard by the shoulder, sending him stumbling back against the wall. "Listen to me very carefully, old man," I growled, stepping toward him. "You lay one finger on me, and I won't even wait until tomorrow. I will call the police right now and have you arrested for felony assault on top of the financial crimes. Sit down." Marcus stared at me, breathing heavily, massaging his wrist. He looked terrified. For the first time in his entire life, he realized he had zero physical or psychological power over me. He slowly picked up his chair and sat down, refusing to make eye contact. Olivia was hyperventilating now, clutching her chest. "Alex, what do you want? Please, we don't want to go to jail. We can fix this privately. We can give you equity in the properties." "I want my money back," I said, sitting back down and smoothing my jacket. "Every single dime. And I don't want equity in your garbage investments." "We don't have it in cash," Sarah cried out, her voice cracking. It's tied up in the condo, the cars, the accounts. I know, I said. I reached into my briefcase on the floor and pulled out 3 thick stacks of legal documents, which is why I brought these. Asset transfer agreements, power of attorney forms, quitclaim deeds. I tossed a heavy metal pen onto the table. It rolled and stopped right in front of Sarah. You have 2 choices tonight, I told them, my voice completely devoid of emotion. Choice 1. You sign these papers right now. You sign over the Miami condo. You sign over the luxury cars. You surrender the offshore accounts to my legal team. You give me everything you bought with my money, and you walk away with nothing but the clothes on your backs. In exchange, I don't give this black folder to the FBI. And choice 2, Sarah shrieked, tears ruining her makeup. Choice 2 is I walk out that door right now, I said calmly. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, my lawyers hand this entire folder to the federal authorities. You will be arrested before lunch. You will lose the assets anyway to federal seizure, and you will spend the next 10 to 15 years in a federal penitentiary. You can't do this to us, Olivia wailed, burying her face in her hands. We are your parents. Sarah is your sister. How can you be so cold? You stopped being my family the second you forged my name to ruin my life, I said. You have 5 minutes to decide. I looked at my watch. I didn't say another word. The next 5 minutes were the most pathetic display of human desperation I have ever witnessed. Sarah immediately turned on Marcus, screaming that it was his idea. Marcus yelled at Olivia, blaming her spending habits for putting them in debt in the first place. Olivia cried and begged me to remember the good times from my childhood. They turned on each other like starving animals trapped in a cage. They admitted everything in their panic. They confessed to the fake ledgers, the offshore accounts, the exact moment Sarah practiced my signature. And I sat there, completely silent, watching them destroy themselves. When 4 minutes had passed, I tapped the crystal face of my watch. Time is up. Are you signing, or am I calling the feds? Marcus looked at the papers. His hands were shaking violently. He looked at me, his eyes full of pure, unadulterated hatred. You are dead to us. Good, I said. Sign. He picked up the pen. He signed. Then Olivia signed, her tears staining the ink on the documents. Finally, it was Sarah's turn. She held the pen, staring at the quitclaim deed for the condo, refusing to move. My condo, she whispered. I decorated it. It's mine. You can't take my home. It's mine, Sarah, I corrected her coldly. Sign it or pack a bag for federal holding. Choose right now. She screamed in frustration, a horrible, grating sound. But she signed the papers. She practically threw the pen at me when she was done. I gathered the documents, checked every single signature, verified the notary spaces my team would formalize later with the video confession I had recorded on my phone in my breast pocket, and placed them neatly into my briefcase. I stood up and buttoned my jacket. You have 48 hours to vacate the properties, I told them, looking down at the 3 ruined people at the table. Do not take anything that was purchased with company funds. My asset recovery team will be auditing the condo and the cars on Monday. If so much as a coffee maker is missing, the deal is off, and you go to jail. I turned and walked toward the door. Alex, Olivia called out. Her voice was weak, broken. Where are we supposed to go? I stopped with my hand on the doorknob. I didn't look back. That sounds like a you problem. Good luck. I walked out into the cool night air. I got into my car, started the engine, and just sat there for a minute, gripping the steering wheel. People always ask if revenge feels good. Honestly, no. It doesn't feel like a movie. It feels exhausting. It feels like taking out the trash. You aren't happy that the rotting trash was in your house in the first place, but you feel deeply relieved when it's finally gone. It took 6 months to fully liquidate their assets. I sold Sarah's condo. I auctioned the cars. I recovered the offshore funds with the help of my legal team. By the time it was over, I had recouped 100% of the $2 million, plus my legal fees and the investigative costs. My credit is flawless again. My career is better than ever. As for them, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that Marcus and Olivia are renting a tiny 1-bedroom apartment on the bad side of town. Marcus had to get a job working the cash register at a local hardware store to pay the rent. Sarah is living on a friend's couch, bouncing from low-paying job to low-paying job, because nobody in the corporate world wants to hire someone with a reputation for corporate theft. The rumors got out, even without a federal conviction. They tried to call me a few times during the holidays. I changed my number. I don't feel guilty, not even a little bit. Because a real man protects his life, his money, and his peace of mind, no matter who is trying to take it from him. Blood doesn't give you a free pass to commit fraud. Respect is earned, and disrespect is punished. So, tell me, if your family tried to steal $2 million from you and send you to ruin, would you have given them the choice to sign the assets over? Or would you have just sent them straight to prison? Let me know in the comments. And remember, never co-sign a loan for anyone, not even your own mother.